King of the Forest by East Side the
Prologue. The date is October 10th and it is an autumn evening in the village hidden in the leaves. A figure stands atop a Hokage monument. He is wearing blue shinobi pants, tape on his legs and blue shinobi sandals. He is also wearing a matching top with baggy long sleeves. Over this he is wearing a white ankle-length, short-sleeved cloak with a red flame motif design along the bottom that is moving in the wind. He has shaggy blonde hair with sideburns that frame his heart-shaped face. He is also wearing a hidden leaf headband which is keeping his bangs back. This is none other than the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. The man known and feared throughout the entire shinobi world as the Yellow Flash. Armed with his flying Raijin Jutsu, many believed him to be the fastest shinobi who ever lived, with the fourth Raikage being the only person who could rival him in this respect. Minato was reported to have single-handedly faced and killed 10,000 hidden stone shinobi at the Battle of Konobe Bridge and ended the Third Shinobi World War. Minato is standing on his stone head on the Hokage monument overlooking a scene of absolute chaos. Smoke is rising into the sky and smothering the light of the full moon and the stars. Screams of fear can be heard clearly, even from where he is. A giant creature with red fur, crimson blood-thirsty eyes and 9 swinging tails can be seen below, destroying the hidden leaf with shinobi desperately trying to stop it and failing. The 9-tailed fox. The most powerful of all the 9-tailed beasts. Legend had it could level mountains and raise tsunamis with a swing of its tails. Right now it was proving its legend to have some truth to it. Minato is thinking about the events that led to this very moment. It all began with the pregnancy. 9 months ago he and Kushina had found out she was pregnant with quadruplets. They were ecstatic. The two were in disbelief over how they were going to be parents. However, there was a slight issue. Kushina's seal. Kushina was the Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox. In a Jinchuriki's life there was one time where the seal holding her tailed beast weakened considerably. This was during childbirth. The chakra usually used for maintaining the seal was directed towards the maintenance of the fetus, or in Kushina's case fetuses. Thus when the third found out, he demanded the matter be handled with the utmost secrecy. And that was what was done. The pregnancy was kept a secret. When the time came, the children were to be delivered in a secret location with a barrier erected and the Anbu Black Ops, who were part of the third security detail, on guard. The deliveries were a success. Naruto, their firstborn son, had come first. He had tufts of blonde hair atop his head and whisker-like markings on his cheeks. An hour later their first daughter was born. She had been named Inta. She had Kushina's red hair. Not long after this their second son came. Menma had tufts of black and red hair atop his head. Just 15 minutes after this, Yayoi, their youngest and second daughter, was welcomed into the world. She had Minato's blonde hair, only it was a shade lighter. It was only then it really sunk in. He had really become a father. Just as he was about to rebuild the seal, he turned around to see Bawako and the other midwife drop to the ground dead. A cloaked hooded man wearing an orange mask with a tiger stripe-like design with one eye hole and the fully developed 3-tomo Sharingan of the Uchiha visible through it was standing there with a kunai in hand in front of the cradle that held the children. He told him to step away from Kushina or they would die. Minato didn't know what to do and the man attempted to follow through on his promise. Minato saved the children, but he had been forced to use his teleportation jutsu and left Kushina in the hands of the enemy, whose plan he realized was to separate them from the beginning. He used the flying Raijin seal that he had incorporated into her seal to get to her, but he was too late. The masked man had ripped the 9 tails out of her body and she informed him of his intention to use it to destroy the village. Minato was devastated. He knew the consequences of a tailed beast being ripped from its Jinchuriki's body like that. Of course the masked man had infiltrated the village and summoned the 9 tails right in the middle of it. That was all that led to the current situation. Minato inhales and exhales deeply. He had already found Tsunade and taken her to Kushina's location. He hoped that, by some miracle, she would be able to save her. I've allowed myself enough selfishness, he says internally. It's time to protect the village. Meanwhile below, the 9 tails must have sensed his presence because the fox turned its head and looked straight at the Hokage monument. It opens its mouth revealing its fangs. Small balls of blue and red chakra begin to form and converge on the spot at its mouth until a giant purple ball of chakra has formed. The Tailed Beast Bomb. An attack only a tailed beast is capable of. One that could destroy entire armies and leave a scar upon the very face of the earth in a second. The Nine Tails takes aim before releasing the bomb, sending it flying at the Hokage monument. "You won't have to your way here," he defiantly declares. He begins weaving through hand signs before shouting, "Flying Raijin, Guiding Thunder Jutsu." A complex sealing formula appears in the air in front of the monument. When the bomb reaches its momentum stops. It begins to sink into the sealing array until it can't be seen. Minato then holds up a Flying Raijin kunai and an explosion is seen in the distance. Minato has no time to examine his handiwork. He whips around, a kunai in hand, in an attempt to behead the masked man who had tried to sneak up on him. His attack goes right through the man as if he isn't there. When his hand comes out on the other side, the man grabs his wrist. A swirling distortion formed in the air with the masked man's only visible eye being the epicenter. Minato suddenly sees himself being pulled into the man. Acting fast, he activates the Flying Raijin. Minato finds himself laying on the ground next to one of his kunai in front of another one of his safe houses, this being the one destroyed earlier. My attack slipped through him as if he wasn't even there, he thought, getting up. The same distortion from before appears and out of it the masked man materializes. So he can use space-time ninjutsu as well, assessed Minato. Minato begins to analyze the situation. Single quote. "Why did you attack the leaf?" he questions. The masked man simply stares at Minato. "I could say I did it on a whim and I could say I did it for a purpose. I could say I did it for peace and I could say I did it for war." Minato begins to assess the situation. He was able to get past a top-secret barrier, kill all the Anbu Black Ops on guard who were assigned to the 3rd security detail, and he knew about the seal weakening during childbirth. He was also able to break the It, tame the Nine Tails and get past the Hidden Leaf's main barrier undetected. Could it be? Are you Madara Uchiha? No, it's impossible. He's dead. I wonder about that, replied the masked man, taking out what appeared to be a pair of shackles and putting them on. Well, I guess it doesn't matter who he is. He's still not an ordinary shinobi. His space-time ninjutsu surpasses mine and Lord Seconds, and he's got dangerous ideology. I'll have to take him down here and now or he'll cause problems in the future, Minato internally said. The two run at each other. Minato attempts to stab his opponent only for his attack to pass right through him. When he passes through him, Madara uses the chain of his shackles to stop Minato and bind him. Minato quickly disappears and reappears kneeling next to one of his kunai. He's trying to use the chain as an effective method of attack for whenever he materializes, which is the only time he can attack. He can pull objects in but only when touching them. With the Nine Tails summoning time limit on his mind, he'll want to end this as quick as possible. He gets up and the two run at one another again, Minato with a Flying Raijin kunai in hand. Whoever is faster wins this battle. Minato throws his kunai at the masked ninja and like before it goes through him. A Rasengan suddenly forms in his right hand while the enemy is using his to try to touch Minato's left shoulder and end the battle. It looks as if the masked man has the upper hand. His hand is less than a millisecond away from touching Minato. IW, and he internally voices. Minato appears above the enemy, the kunai he threw in hand. He brings his Rasengan down, drilling it into the masked man's back, causing cracks to form in the ground and dirt to be kicked up. Ah! He teleported himself to his kunai. When Minato's Rasengan dissipates, there is a Flying Raijin mark on the spot he hit on his back. Ah! The masked man's hand begins to melt and fall off somehow. You really are a flash. I let my guard down for a second and... He doesn't get to finish as Minato appears in front of him with his hand on his stomach. A contract seal, the masked man says, seeing a complex sealing formula spread across his body. The Nine Tails is no longer yours, Minato declares. He jumps back, the enemy having been defeated. It doesn't matter. You winning this battle is only prolonging the inevitable. I plan to rule the world. There's plenty of ways to go about doing that. He says in a serious tone, disappearing, leaving Minato worried. Meanwhile, in the Hidden Leaf, the battle rages on. Several shinobi are trying to subdue the Nine Tails but are unsuccessful so far. None notice, but the Nine Tails' eyes revert from the normal pupil with 3 dots at the very edge of the iris to an eye with just a slit for a pupil. We'll push the Nine Tails out of the village. Advance, the third orders. The shinobi all comply, running forward to occupy the demon fox. The third meanwhile bites his thumb, weaves through some hand signs before slamming his hand down. A poof of smoke follows, and when the smoke clears, standing next to him is none other than Monkey King Emma. Did the seal fail? He questions. The former Hokage nods. We have to push the Nine Tails out of the village. There is a poof of smoke, and when it clears, a large black staff stands in his place. Hiruzen grabs it, places under his arm and yells, "Adamantine staff! Extend!" It complies as it suddenly extends its length, the tip rushing out to meet the Nine Tails. It hits the Nine Tails in the chest, pushing the beats back until it is out of the village. It's out. Don't stop. Advance and attack, orders the third. Minato appears atop the Hokage monument once again, this time on the third's head, just in time to see another tailed beast bomb being gathered. He weaves through hand signs. A sealing formula appears in the air above the Nine Tails. There is a giant poof, and a giant toad falls on top of the Nine Tails. Gamabunta, the chief toad, he boss summon of all toads. Minato teleports himself atop Gamabunta just as the Nine Tails begins forming another tailed beast bomb. I'm sorry, Kushina, Minato says, gathering chakra. He needs to get this as far away from the village as possible. The third realizes what Minato is gathering chakra for and runs towards him. Lord Third, protest the shinobi. Hiruzen jumps onto the Nine Tails, and before anyone can do anything, the Nine Tails, Minato and Hiruzen are gone. An explosion is seen in the distance. Over there. Let's hurry. Scene of explosion. The safe house Minato teleported to with the Nine Tails and Hiruzen at the last moment is destroyed. Crying can be clearly heard. Minato, what's going on? Kushina asked. She looked a bit better. I'm sorry, Kushina. It was the only way. The Nine Tails was going to destroy the village. Hiruzen and Tsunade run up towards the two, Tsunade holding Menma and Mito while Hiruzen is holding the Naruto and Yayoi. A growl is heard by the group. They turn to see the Nine Tails getting up. Kushina claps her hands together. Adamantine sealing chains. Yellow chains made of a special kind O chakra. The chains drill into O the ground before come up and wrapping around the Nine Tails. Listen, all of you. I'm going to use what little strength I have left to seal the Nine Tails inside of myself and take it with me into the afterlife. No, Kushina. The man who did this wasn't the last the village will see of him, he said, confusing Tsunade and Hiruzen. The Nine Tails' power will be needed to fight against him when he returns. If I seal half the Nine Tails in myself and the other half in one of. There's no need for either of you to do that. They turn to see Hiruzen with Naruto and Yayoi in his arms. I will seal the Nine Tails using the Reaper Death Seal in conjunction with the 8 Trigram Seal. He says in a tone of finality. I don't know what's the cause of the events that have transpired tonight, but I know the fate of the Hidden Leaf and perhaps the world is on the line. And that's all I need to know. Lord Third. No, Minato. My time has come and gone. You on the other hand have just become Hokage. You achieving this at such an age is symbolic of the next generation stepping in. And you're a father now. Your children will need you to be there for them. It is time the baton was passed. Very well, Lord Third, he relented. Meanwhile, the Nine Tails is thrashing about, desperately attempting to free itself, but to no avail. He knows he is strong enough, but his chakra isn't gathering. This feeling. My chakra won't gather. I feel paralyzed. It's not Kushina's adamantine chains. It's. He looks ahead and his eyes fall on Naruto, that brat. His chakra. With it he's unconsciously suppressing mine. His chakra feels just like. The Nine Tails thinks of a certain shinobi who lived ages ago. He had the ability to subdue tailed beasts and was a leaf ninja. Could it be he has the same ability? The group has finished setting up the ritual altar. The Nine Tails is much too large to seal in one child, so I will split it amongst them. Its chakra I will divide into 3 equal parts and seal into 3 of them, while the beast itself I will seal into 1 of them. Minato. He sighs. Naruto, he's the eldest. Hiruzen nods. He weaves through hand signs and the Reaper is summoned from his realm. The Reaper puts his hand through Hiruzen, making him feel an indescribable cold. No. The Nine Tails protests, but to avail is its chakra it ripped from it. Then the Nine Tails itself is sealed in Naruto. Hiruzen feels himself being to fade. He falls to the ground. The three gather around him with Tsunade carrying two of the children and Minato the other two. "Tsunade, I want you to know I'm proud of you, and tell Orochimaru and Jiraiya the same," he says, making her tear up. "And Tsunade, I know it's hard, but I want you to open your heart again. I want you to learn to love once more." He turns to Kushina. "Kushina. From that little I welcomed to the leaf years ago, you've grown into a splendid, strong woman. Lady Mito would be proud," he says as she struggles to hold back the tears. He finally turns to Minato. "Well done, my boy. You've done me proud. I leave the village in your hands," he says, handing him 4 scrolls, each holding the key to each seal. Minato nods. "I won't let you down," he says, determined. Hiruzen looks up at the moon. He hasn't had a bad life. He regrets a few things, like not being able to be with his wife in the afterlife and letting his best friend slip into darkness. He closes his eyes, breathes his final breath, and allows the Reaper to claim his soul, dying with a smile on his face. Days later, Minato is sitting in his office thinking. A lot has happened in the past few days. The council had demanded answers on the Nine Tails breaking loose. Minato had decided against revealing what had happened and branded the seal breaking an accident. If the possibility of a shinobi such as Madara Uchiha being alive became common knowledge, panic would erupt throughout the village and shinobi world. This unfortunately meant the Uchiha were facing suspicion from certain council members. He had to notify the elders, however, who were not pleased with the information. He had, however, gone public with the information of the Nine Tails and its chakra being sealed away. The villagers had praised Mito, Menma and Yayoi as the village heroes who stripped the demon fox of its power. They did seem a bit apprehensive about Naruto, but he is sure it will pass. It is still the early days after the attack. Kushina by some miracle was still alive and no permanent damage was done. He had thought it was Tsunade's doing, but she was perplexed by it as well. It was put down to her Uzumaki blood in the end. Right now Minato is waiting for Jiraiya, who he summoned to the village. He hears someone enter through his window. He turns to see his sensei. "Hey brat," Jiraiya greets, walking into the office. Minato smiles and immediately activates privacy seals on the room so none outside can hear anything. He proceeds to explain everything to Jiraiya from beginning to end. When he is finished, the Sannin has a frown on his face. "I think this is it, sensei. What you spoke about," Minato says. "The shinobi world will face great danger in the coming days. A child of prophecy will be born. She will hold a great power within and will either save the world or bring about its end," Jiraiya had said to Minato and Kushina. "I believe one of our children is the child of prophecy," says Minato. Jiraiya adopts a thinking pose. "I believe so too. It's got to be either Menma, Mito or Yayoi, as they hold a great power just as the prophecy said. So what will we do? Train them, of course. Prepare them to save the world," he overly peppy manner. Minato smiles at this. "Come on then. Take me to my god children." They both get up and leave, heading for Minato's home, unaware of the events they've set into motion, events that will lead to the birth of a lion that will either save the world or destroy it, just as the prophecy said. Chapter 1. Time skip. 7 years after the Nine Tails attack. Uzumaki Namikaze Estate. On the southwest end of the Hidden Leaf lies the residence of the 4th Hokage. It is here, in the training ground in the backyard of the village leader's home, that we find 2 adults watching over 3 children. The first adult is Minato Namikaze himself. The second is Kushina Uzumaki. The first child is the 4th's first-born daughter. She has red hair that reaches just past her shoulders that she ties up in a ponytail and dark blue or navy eyes. She stands at 4 feet tall. This is Mito. The second is a boy that also stands at 4 feet tall. He has a head of red and black shaggy spiky hair and deep purple eyes. This is the 4th's third child, Menma. The third is a girl who has a head of blonde hair tied in pigtails. She has a round face and has green eyes. She is as tall as her siblings. This the youngest of the Uzumaki Namikaze children, Yayoi. Currently Minato and Kushina are watching over their kids practicing their taijutsu katas. A decision had been taken by the parents to train Menma, Mito and Yayoi as much as possible so that when the masked man finally emerged from the shadows, the one out of the three of them who was the prophesied savior would be ready to face him. Minato had attempted to track the man down using his flying Raijin seal, which never disappears from anything it's marked. All he found was a piece of flesh buried in the ground. It was taken back to the village to see if a positive DNA match with any shinobi could be found for it, but nothing came up. The trouble was conclusive proof of whether it was Madara or not couldn't be found, as the village only started keeping DNA samples from shinobi in the hospital archives under the second's reign. "Alright, that's enough for now," says Minato. "Yayoi, you're very strong, but try to be faster with your attacks. Mito, you move with a lot of grace and control when you attack, but try to exert a bit more force. Menma, you have good speed and strength, but try to have more control and grace when you attack," Minato assesses. They all nod at this. "Let's head in for lunch," Kushina says. "Alright, let's hurry. The sooner we finish, the sooner we can carry on with training and I can get stronger." "You'll just get left in my dust," Yayoi challenges. "Both of you are already in my dust," Mito cockily states. The trio begin arguing. Alright, enough. "The three of you have still got a long way to go as far as I'm concerned," he says, suddenly grabbing Mito and Yayoi and slinging them over his shoulders like sacks, while Kushina does the same with Menma. The kids protest, but soon the whole family is laughing. A figure watches this scene unfold from his bedroom window. He has blonde spiky hair and cerulean blue eyes. He has strange whisker-like marks on his cheeks and has a heart-shaped face. This is Naruto, the eldest of the Uzumaki Namikaze children. One might ask themselves why he is not training with his family. The answer to this is he never does anything with his family. Things weren't as bad as before. Even from a young age, Naruto could tell his siblings were receiving more attention than himself, and not just from his parents. The villagers were also very affectionate with of the three, dubbing them the saviors of the hidden leaf. This was because they had the Nine Tails chakra sealed inside of them. It was the opposite with Naruto. The villagers would whisper behind his back and shoot him glares whenever he was around. This was because he had the Nine Tails itself sealed inside of him. In any event, things only grew worse when he turned 5 years old. His parents had explained to him then that they would be training Menma, Mito and Yayoi and preparing them to be shinobi, and that he wouldn't be receiving the same training as preparing his siblings to one day control the power they held took priority. Naruto was saddened but understood. Contrary to popular belief, he was quite intelligent. The difference between him and his siblings was he had the foundation of a civilian academy student because of his parents neglecting to teach him. The neglect Naruto faced got worse and worse, to a point where whenever his family went out they would leave him behind. How did his siblings feel about this? Menma and Yayoi would constantly make fun of him for being weak when he was older and convinced the kids at the academy not to go near him. Mito simply behaved obliviously towards his existence. Naruto is hoping things change soon. The next day, Naruto wakes up and heads downstairs to find the house empty. He clenches his fist angrily. As always, he smiles, realizing now is his chance. He heads to his father's study and begins raiding the jutsu section. The first he grabs is the Shadow Clone Jutsu and some Shuriken Jutsu. Then just as he's about to go for another, he hears laughter from outside. He utters a curse before leaving the study. He rushes up the stairs to his bedroom, shuts the door, jumps out of the window and is off to the nearest available training ground. Hours later, Naruto sits on the ground panting. Since coming here he has been working on his Shuriken Jutsu and Taijutsu. He mastered the Shadow Clone Jutsu quite fast. It suits him well because of his large chakra reserves. Now he finally has someone to go to the academy for him while he puts in some meaningful training. The academy is a waste of time in Naruto's opinion. It doesn't properly equip one with the skills they will need when they go into the field. A majority of the students in it will fail to graduate, and for those who do, it will be a question of will they survive a year in the field. He gets up and heads home. Naruto is walking through the village and begins to see a crowd forming around him. Whispers and murmurs can be heard. There he is. Just look at him. Disgrace to his family. How dare he call himself the fourth son? Demon. Naruto takes off running, not being able to take any more, and doesn't stop until he reaches his training ground. He falls on the ground and curls himself in a ball. The villagers always do this. The villagers had treated him this way for as long as he could remember. At first they weren't as brazen, but they quickly realized no one was going to stop them. He begins to feel angry and unintentionally infuses his chakra. Naruto suddenly feels something rough wrapping around him. He opens his eyes to see what appears to be branches that have sprouted from the ground out of nowhere and wrapped around him. He quickly untangles himself. What was that? He says to himself aloud. He closes his eyes and places his hands into the snake seal. He infuses chakra and focuses hard. He hears a sound and opens his eyes to see a tree. This could only mean one thing. The next day, Naruto jumps out of his bed and wastes no time showering and getting dressed before anyone else is up, intent on confirming his suspicions about what happened last night. He jumps out of his window, not wanting to run into anyone from his family, and is off. Training ground. Naruto forms two shadow clones. One heads to the academy, as is now routine, and the other goes to the library to collect notes on wood-based jutsu. Then he unfolds a scroll and starts reading. The summoning jutsu is a jutsu that allows the user to transport a target to their location. Before an animal can be summoned, a prospective summoner must first form a contract with the animal and/or its species. Although in rare cases one can use the summoning jutsu prior to acquiring a contract to determine the summoning animal one has a natural affinity. This can have dire consequences, however, and is not advised. Naruto thinks about this. What the hell, he says, what's the worst that can happen? He says to himself. He doesn't have to worry about chakra exhaustion. He reads further for the instructions. Naruto bites his thumb while infusing a fair amount of chakra. He slams his hand onto the ground. Summoning jutsu. A poof of smoke engulfs Naruto. When the smoke clears, Naruto looks around in shock. This is not the hidden leaf. He appears to be in a mountainous area with dense jungles. Naruto hears a growl and turns around to see, standing only a few feet away, a lion. This one is no ordinary lion, however. It appears to be about the size of an adult horse. It roars, causing Naruto to fall on his backside. Acting fast, he jumps up and takes off with the beast hot on his heels. Naruto jumps into a nearby tree, thinking he's safe, only for the lion to leap after him. What? How is that even possible? He says, shocked, leaping to another tree. The lion leaps after him. The chase continues like this until Naruto jumps down onto the forest floor. He forms a dozen shadow clones who all run in different directions. The lion looks around, not knowing which one to go after. It releases a roar that echoes through the forest. With Naruto. Naruto has managed to get far enough from his hunter. What the hell was that? That lion was coming for me with the moves of a shinobi. He says, still trying to calm himself. All right, now I need to get out of here. Naruto is stopped in his tracks as his hunter jumps down from the trees in front of him. He looks around to see other lions emerging from the surrounding trees. He sighs. Got your friends to help you take down the clones, huh? He whips out a kunai. If this is it and he's really going to die, then he's going to die fighting. A figure dressed in a white haori and black shinobi pants and sandals jumps down next to Naruto. He looks up to see a man who looks to be in his mid-50s. He has gray short hair and a stubble on his face. His eyes are black. Enough, he says in a commanding tone. You dare protect this intruder, growls Naruto's unidentified hunter. If he's here, then that fact alone means he isn't one, the man says in a challenging tone. The lions growl lowly before they part to form a path for them to pass. The man turns around and smiles at Naruto. Follow me. Naruto frowns and gets into a fighting stance. What makes you think I trust you? Would you rather stay here and face them? The man says, gesturing to the lions. Naruto relents and follows him. They walk in silence for a while. So what's your name? Mine's Akasada. Akasada Takahashi. I'm Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Akasada chuckles. That's a good name. A maelstrom, huh? Naruto smiles. Sorry about back there. No problem. You were right for not immediately coming with me, he says. I know how you ended up here. So you're a shinobi in training, he says. Yes, so what is this place? Naruto asks. This is Mount Raiyan. Home of the lion summons, and you are only the second human to set foot in this place, Akasada answered. Oh, so where are we going? Naruto asks. To the ruler of this place, Lord Helios. In his palace you'll be presented with the summoning contract for the lions and you'll sign it. Akasada explains. They walk for a few kilometers. Naruto sees more lions and lionesses in this time. He comes to the realization that they vary in size. Some are a normal size, some are as large as horses, and some are the size of elephants. They continue walking until they get to a large rock. Two large stone lions are at either side of a set of tall double doors. Akasada places his hand on the double doors and they open wide. He walks in with Naruto trailing behind. Inside, an incredibly large lion is seen sitting on a throne. He has golden brown fur and his mane is slightly darker than his fur. His eyes are golden in color. The lion is large enough so that he could crush Naruto easily with one of his fingers. Akasada, who is this? Asks Helios in an intimidating tone. Boss, this is a young man who winded up here after using the summoning jutsu without a contract. It appears he has a natural affinity for your people. Akasada says. I'll be the judge of that. Bring out the summoning contract. If it rejects his chakra, you will pay Akasada, he says, causing the man to gulp. A lion comes out from behind the throne with the scroll in his mouth and sets it down in front of Naruto. Akasada unfolds it. Sign your name in blood here, put each of your fingerprints here and infuse chakra and push it in here, he says. Just as Akasada said, his name is the only one on the contract. Naruto signs his name and marks the contract with his fingerprints. He breathes in deep before pushing his chakra into the contract. It appears you were right, Akasada. Human boy, what is your name? Also Helios. Naruto, he replies. Helios notices the determination and fire in his eyes and inwardly chuckles. You have now earned the right to summon the lions. It is an honor that you are only the second to have bestowed upon. Do not disappoint. He nods. Right, Naruto, let's go. They leave the chief lion's abode. When they get outside, a lion slightly smaller than Helios is sighting there. Akasada, who is this brat? Questions the lion, making Naruto a bit angry. This is Naruto, your new summoner. Naruto, this is Latios, the boss's brother and your new summons. A new summoner. This little cub. No chance in hell. Naruto finally speaks up, wanna bet kitten? Latios growls and gets up, bowing his head to meet Naruto at eye level. Say that again, he dares. Kitten. Naruto says. There is silence. Huh. Cubs got some roar. But as for your bite, that remains to be seen. He says, getting up and stalking off, leaving an irritated Naruto and an amused Akasada. Don't mind him. He's just testing you. Naruto sighs. So I get to summon all lions? Even the boss? Naruto asks. No, all except the boss. That privilege you will earn when you become a sage, Akasada says. How does that work? Naruto asks. You'll find out soon. He turns to Akasada. I need you to train me, he says, not beating about the bush. Akasada is taken aback a bit. Don't you have people in your village for that? I'm going nowhere fast with them, he replies plainly. Akasada ponders this a bit. When do you need my help? Every day, Naruto says. He sighs. All right, may as well, smirks Akasada. Naruto grins from ear to ear. All right, see you tomorrow, sensei. He turns around and is about to walk off when he remembers something. How do I get home? He asks sheepishly. Akasada sighs. This kid is something else. Akasada shows Naruto the hand signs he will need to weave when summoning a lion. Now weave those backwards and you'll be back home. Naruto nods and weaves the hand signs backwards before slamming his hand on the ground. A poof of smoke is the result. When the smoke clears, he is gone. Fast learner, Akasada comments. Hidden leaf. The smoke clears and Naruto finds himself back in the leaf. He is happy. He finally has someone to train him. He looks in front of himself to see a book. Must have gotten tired of waiting, he says. He picks it up. The title is, God of Shinobi. He opens the book and starts reading. Hashirama Senju was famed for many things such as establishing the ninja village system that the shinobi world operates by and being the first Hokage. Many believe him to be the most powerful shinobi who ever lived. He practiced many jutsu, but perhaps the most powerful jutsu in his extensive arsenal was the wood style. With it he could change entire landscapes in seconds, bring down armies and even subdue tailed beasts. Naruto's eyes widen at this. He reads on. He could use the wood-style Kekkei Genkai by combining an earth-style change in chakra nature and a water-style change in the chakra nature. Naruto takes out the piece of paper sticking out of the back. Moment of truth. Naruto pushes his chakra into the paper. First it splits in half. Then the one half turns into dirt and the other becomes wet. There's no other explanation. Naruto has the wood style of the first Hokage. Time skip. 3 years later. Uzumaki Namikaze Estate. Menma, Mito and Yayoi are in the family's private training ground. They are balancing kunai on their fingers. A chakra control exercise. This is so boring, Menma complains. When am I gonna get the chance to learn some real jutsu like Dad's Rasengan? Quiet down, Menma. Chakra control is essential. If you don't have it, then you won't be able to use a jutsu like the Rasengan. Says Mito. Yeah. Menma, bored, blows at Yayoi's kunai. Hey, yells Yayoi, Menma. I'm telling Mom, Dad, she says, running to her parents who are sitting on the side watching. Mom, Dad, Menma blew my kunai off. I did no such thing. Right, Mito? They're both being a nuisance. Alright, that's enough for today, Kushina says. Mom, Dad, all turn to Yayoi. When can Naruto start training with us? She asks. In recent years Yayoi's feelings towards Naruto have changed. She's realized how she's been towards him and is trying to change that. Immediately there is silence. Kushina and Minato have sad looks on their faces. They are aware of how for the past few years they've severely neglected Naruto. They want to change that but don't know how to go about it. Why do you want to train with that loser? Said Menma, visibly growing angry. He despised Naruto. Every time someone mentioned him the mood would grow sour. He was weak. Naruto was dead last at the academy and all he knew how to do was cause trouble. At the mention of his name things would be spoilt. As far as Menma is concerned, Naruto doesn't deserve to be called a member of this family. Menma, don't say that about your brother. Kushina reprimanded. Menma held back a scoff. Maybe that isn't a bad idea, said Minato, who had been quiet up until this point. From now on Naruto will be training with us, Minato says. Yay! Big brother will be so happy, she exclaims, jumping up. Kushina and Minato chuckle at her. Mito appears indifferent. Menma is frustrated. Way to go, Yayoi. Mount Raihan. Naruto attempts to deliver a claw to Akasada's stomach only for it to be blocked. He jumps back, avoiding Akasada's leg sweep. Naruto is forced to put his forearms up as Akasada attempts to deliver a punch right at his face. Naruto reacts by grabbing Akasada's arm and attempts a judo throw, but Akasada lands on his feet and kicks Naruto in the stomach, causing him to skid back. Naruto jumps into the air and attempts a right hook at Akasada, but he catches Naruto's fist. Naruto twists himself in the air and attempts a spinning kick at Akasada, which grazes him. Alright, that's enough. You're at times faster and at times more focused on strength. You need to be more of both at the same time. Remember, the Lion Fist is about using an immense amount of speed and strength to grind your opponent down. Naruto nods. The Lion Fist is the taijutsu style that Akasada had taught him. Naruto and Akasada had formed a deep bond with one another and become quite close with each other since Naruto had become his student. Naruto had learned that Akasada was a former shinobi of the hidden cloud known as the Typhoon, for his vast arsenal of wind-style jutsu. Naruto had done some research and found out that Akasada was quite feared during his heyday and wreaked havoc on the battlefield during the Third Shinobi World War. He was the cloud's equivalent of the Sannin. The history books reflected that during the course of the war Akasada had mysteriously gone missing and was presumed dead, but the truth was Akasada had lost his entire family during an attack in the war, his parents, his wife and his kids, and had from then on wanted nothing to do with the shinobi world. He had lived on Mount Raiyan since, with the lions welcoming him as he was their one and only summoner at the time. Akasada had learned Naruto was the son of the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze and his wife the red-hot habanero of the Hidden Leaf Kushina Uzumaki and the vessel for the chakra-stripped Nine Tails. He had never faced the Yellow Flash, but an old friend of his had. He was shocked to learn that Naruto possessed the wood style of the first Hokage. Naruto had learned a lot from Akasada. He had taught him quite a bit, but not just in regards to ninjutsu. Before Naruto met Akasada, he trained to become stronger so that the world would know his name, and to some extent that was still part of what he wanted, but now he looked at things differently. He understood that people like him and Akasada were victimized the way they were because of the way the shinobi world was, and he wanted to change that. "Alright, head home. We'll continue tomorrow," says Akasada. Naruto nods, bite his thumb, weaves the summoning jutsu hand signs in reverse, and in a poof of smoke is gone. Naruto's training ground. In a poof of smoke, Naruto is back in the village. By now it is dark. He gets up and walks towards his home. He has worked by the same routine for the past 3 years. Every morning he wakes up, gets ready for the day and leaves before everyone else. He gets to his training ground, or at least what used to be his training ground, and forms a shadow clone that goes to the academy. He then performs the reverse summoning jutsu and spends the whole day on Mount Raiyan training with Akasada. Once the day is up, he heads back. Of course he has to make sure he doesn't get careless lest he risk being found out, so on days where they have practical tasks and sparring sessions at the academy he has to show up. Naruto keeps up the appearance of a dead last hopeless loser at the academy. He believes that he can't afford to trust anyone with the knowledge of his true power lest he risk vulnerability. As for his wood style, Naruto had learned only a few jutsu with it and he hadn't trained extensively with it. Naruto is aware of the fact that if the village were to learn he possesses the first Kekkei Genkai, they would make efforts to transform him into a weapon, and his father, as always, would allow them to do as they please. He couldn't have that. He will, for now, only resort to using it in a dire life or death situation. Naruto turns a corner and whips out a kunai as a swirling distortion forms in the air. During his years under Akasada he had awakened a sensory ability. Out of the distortion appears a figure wearing what appears to be traditional Uchiha robes. He has spiky long hair that reaches down his back. His face is hidden by an orange mask with a tiger stripe-like design. His mask has one eye hole, and through it Naruto can see a 3-tomo Sharingan glowing in the dark. The man does a good job at trying to hide it, but his chakra feels vile. He's an Uchiha alright, but he can't be a leaf ninja. His chakra came out of nowhere, observes Naruto. "Who are you?" he questions. The masked man chuckles. "It's no surprise you don't remember me. But I remember you," the man replies, not answering Naruto's question. He steps forward, giving Naruto his cue to attack. The blonde boy jumps at the masked man, a kunai in hand, intent on killing him. Naruto is shocked when he passes through the man as if he isn't there. He attempts to deactivate any genjutsu, but there is none. He weaves through some hand signs before yelling, "Wind style. Wind orb barrage." Naruto breathes in before blowing out multiple balls of wind chakra, sending them right at the man. The same thing happens. They pass through him like a ghost. The next thing Naruto knows, the masked man is standing in front of him. He knees him in the gut, causing the boy to hunch over. Then he punches him square in the face, sending him stumbling back. He grabs the boy by his collar and tosses him like a rag doll, sending him skidding and rolling. Naruto gets up on his knees and feels the man infuse a large amount of chakra. He puts his hands in the snake seal. Wood style. Wood barrier jutsu. The masked man, seeing this, has a manic smile on his face behind his mask as he weaves his hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. A massive fireball somehow comes out of the man's mouth and goes right through his mask. It collides with the barrier, but it stands firm and protects Naruto from the flames. He takes his hands apart, allowing the wooden beams to recede back into the ground. He gets up onto his feet and looks at his enemy. This is bad. He has the ability to make himself intangible, meaning I can't land any attacks on him. Naruto gives himself no more time to think. His eyes widen and he places his hands in the snake seal as realization hits him. Release, he yells. The masked figure in front of him disappears as he immediately breaks the genjutsu that was just cast on him. He whips around only to receive a kick to the chest that knocks the wind out of him. While he flies through the air, the masked figure weaves through a set of hand signs. Fire style, fireball jutsu, he calls out once again. Naruto, meanwhile, crashes to the ground and gets to his knees, not being able to muster the strength to jump up. His eyes widen as he sees the fireball cannoning towards him. He jumps up and does his best to evade the fireball but can't escape the resultant explosion from it colliding with the ground, which sends him flying once again until he hits the ground and rolls before skidding to a stop. Naruto lays on the ground, helpless as the man walks towards him. The masked stranger grabs him and lifts him up by his collar. I'm impressed. You've grown strong. Even I wasn't expecting wood style, he says. Naruto is clawing at the monk's arm, desperately trying to free himself from his grasp. But you're nowhere near as strong as you should be, the man says. He looks Naruto in the eye, the tomo of his Sharingan spinning. The blonde boy yells in pain before he goes limp in the masked stranger's grip. He's out cold. The masked man drops Naruto unceremoniously onto the ground. Now sleep, Naruto. Sleep and grow stronger, he says as he disappears into the swirling distortion he appeared through. Uzumaki Namikaze Estate. There is an unusual silence at the Uzumaki Namikaze estate as the family sit around the table. They are waiting for Naruto to return. Kushina had gone up to his room only to discover he wasn't in it. She refused to serve dinner until her eldest son returned and sat with them. He usually didn't eat with them, but considering the occasion that should change. An Anbu Black Op teleports into the room in a poof of smoke. Lord Hokage, he says, addressing the village leader in the appropriate manner on one knee. Yes, what is it? Asks Minato. There's been a terrible incident. The Uchiha clan has been massacred. Itachi Uchiha is believed to be responsible. What? Minato says, leaping out of his seat. As Makoto. Kushina is not able to finish her sentence. Her best friend can't be. She and Fugaku left the Uzumaki Namikaze estate a couple of hours ago on a visit. Lady Makoto is alive. So is Lord Fugaku and their children. Itachi was caught by Lord Fugaku accosting his younger brother Sasuke. He and his sister Satsuki are currently at the Leaf Hospital. There is more. Your eldest son has been attacked. Itachi is believed to be responsible for this as well. A shock-laced silence fills the room. No, no, Kushina cries, tears beginning to stream down her cheeks. Kushina. I'm going to the Uchiha clan compound. You head to the hospital now, Minato says. Menma, Mito and Yayoi watch this scene unfold, not knowing what to do. Leaf Hospital. 2nd and 3rd degree burns and fractured ribs. Tsunade says, giving her assessment. He should heal fast, all things considered, but that isn't the real issue. Naruto appears to have suffered an immense amount of psychological trauma, Tsunade says to a crying Kushina. Kushina is desperately trying to keep it together. She has her arm around Makoto, who has stopped crying by now and has just shut down. I'm not sure when he'll come around, Tsunade admits. Thanks, Tsunade, she says. All they can do is hope. A few days later. Naruto groans as he finally opens his eyes. He feels like he has been hit by a brick over the head. There he is, the first person he sees is Tsunade. All of Naruto's physical injuries had already healed, to Tsunade's surprise. That was incredible even for an Uzumaki. Lady Tsunade, Naruto feels someone jump onto him. He looks to see his mother, in tears, hugging him tight. He doesn't know how to feel about this. Naruto, I was so scared, she says. He sits up in his bed. Kushina has not left his side since she came to the hospital. She pushes a small bit of chakra into the flying Radiant seal in her wedding ring, and seconds later Minato is standing there. Naruto, you're awake, he says, smiling. Yes, he replies plainly. Do you remember what happened to you? Asks Minato. Naruto rubs his head. I was on the way home from some training and he just came out of nowhere and attacked me. It tried to stop him but he was too strong. Who? Minato asks. Itachi Uchiha, Naruto replies plainly. Minato looks him in the eyes and can tell he isn't lying. I see. Well, all that matters is you're okay. There's something I meant to ask you before all of this. Your mother and I had discussed it. We were wondering if you would like us to train you along with your siblings from now on. Minato asks. Naruto is taken aback by this. Where did that come from? Well, it doesn't matter. No thank you, he says, surprising the couple. But why? Kushina asks. The two of you have made so much progress with Menma, Mito and Yayoi, and if I joined now I would only be holding them back. He says, lying through his teeth. Well, we could train you aside until you catch up, Kushina suggests. I'd rather not. Naruto insists. The conversation ends like this, although the couple take notice of how throughout the conversation Naruto avoided referring to them as Mom and Dad. The next day, Naruto is up as usual. Kushina had tried to keep him bedridden but he quickly reminded her of how he had completely healed. Yayoi had smothered and nearly squashed him to death when she saw him home and well. Mito simply said she was glad he was okay and things quickly turned awkward afterwards. Menma didn't even speak to him. None of it matters to him. He walks through the village with a million thoughts in his head. Akasada will be wondering why hasn't he shown up for training in days. Speaking of which, the whole ordeal is still very confusing. He didn't know Itachi Uchiha very well. He knew his mother was best friends with Kushina and that he was a once-in-a-generation prodigy who became a chunin at age 10, an Anbu at 11 and captain of his own squad just 2 years later at 13. But that was it. There wasn't much else. Now, regardless of being a person who didn't have much knowledge on Itachi, the near-complete annihilation of his clan didn't make sense. And Itachi choosing to attack Naruto of all people made even less sense to the blonde. What did he ever do to him? Now that he thought carefully about it, the two had never properly exchanged words. The way Itachi spoke when he attacked him was strange. Like he'd been watching him. He shakes his head, finally arriving at his old training ground. He forms a clone that wastes no time in leaving for the academy. He bites his thumb, weaves through the signs he's become so accustomed to and slams his hand on the ground, disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Mount Raiyan. Naruto arrives at the usual spot he and Akasada use for training to see his sensei isn't there. He decides to go look for him at Helios's palace. He walks past many lions and notices some of them give him looks. Over the past 3 years they have become accustomed to his presence, so this is quite strange. He arrives at the palace, greeted by the usual stone lions at the door. He pushes the double doors open. Lord Helios. Sorry to disturb you. I can't find Akasada, Naruto says. Sitting next to Helios is Latios. Naruto step forward, Helios commands. Naruto does as he is told. A lion comes towards Naruto with a scroll in its mouth. He takes the scroll and opens it up. Dear Naruto. If reading this, then I'm gone. As I write this letter, I'm sick. The truth is, I've been sick since before the day we met. At first I didn't tell you because it was a matter of you not needing to know. But then things changed, Naruto. Over the 3 years we spent together, you and I forged an incredible bond. You found a place in my heart and I found one in yours. You made me feel like I had my family back. Like I had back the son I lost. And for you, I suppose I was the father you never had. And that's probably why you're mad at me right now. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for being a coward and not telling you this face to face. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I hope you can forgive me. And one more thing, Naruto. I believe it will be you. I believe you will be the one to change this shinobi world. To ensure there never have to be people like you and I. It's no coincidence that you possess the ability of the first Hokage. You are the harbinger of change for this world, Naruto. Go and fulfill your destiny and show the world you are what I've always known you to be. A lion. The world is a jungle laden with dangers, but you are its king. A lion. Love. Your sensei. Your friend. Your father. Akasada Takahashi. P.S. You will be given a large scroll that contains almost every jutsu I've ever mastered, along with a storage scroll containing my life savings. Use these well. The lion comes forward with a second larger scroll. Naruto is by now crying at full force. He takes the scroll with one hand and the other is wiping away his tears. Do you want to see his body? Latios asks. No. Naruto replies, desperately trying to stop crying. I need some time. He walks off. It will be a while before he is able to bring himself to set foot in this place again. Chapter 2. Beginnings time skip. 3 years after the Uchiha incident. The Genin examinations. This event is seen as the culmination of years of work from the aspiring ninja. A day where academy students who were once seen as hopeless rookie brats were finally recognized as fully fledged shinobi. Naruto Uzumaki is walking through the central part of the Hidden Leaf towards the academy. Today he will be taking the same exams. He would be lying if he said he wasn't a little excited. It's been 3 years since Akasada's death. In this time he has continued to keep up the facade of a dead last loser. Whenever he had to write theory tests he would calculate how many he needed to fail and pass to barely pass, and sometimes purposely failing and taking extra credit. Whenever they had sparring sessions at the academy he would use the basic taijutsu style and fight until having acquired enough points to pass before taking a dive, but he wouldn't have to for much longer. Once he becomes a shinobi he'll finally legally be an adult, and at that point nobody will be able to touch him. Not even Minato. Speaking of which, after his beating at the hands of Itachi, Uchiha Naruto was plagued by attempts by his family to get back into his life. Well, to be more specific, attempts by Minato, Kushina and Yayoi. Mito has always seemed indifferent and uninterested by him, whereas Menma openly voiced his disdain towards him. Years ago Naruto would have jumped at the opportunity to finally be part of the family, but he didn't want that anymore. There's still the matter of the wood style. Naruto realizes he didn't put much thought into that. He couldn't keep it hidden forever. Not because he is incapable of doing so, but because it's a powerful Kekkei Genkai and not being able to use it is just inconvenient and a monumental waste. He ends up deciding, like always, to push that to the back of his mind to be dealt with later. He had continued to train himself in its use. He hasn't been to Mount Raiyan since that day 3 years ago. The day he lost his sensei. Flashback. There is no use in being strong if you don't move fast enough to land a hit, and there is no use in being fast if you're not strong enough to actually land hits that have an effect, Akasada says, sending Naruto flying through the air with a kick to the chest. Naruto rolls and skids along the ground. He sits up. Are you going to teach me ninjutsu, or have you been lying to me this whole time and you never really made it past the academy? Naruto asks, growing frustrated. Akasada grows red and steam comes out of his ears. How dare you? Do you know who I am? I am the Akasada Takahashi. The great typhoon of the hidden cloud. A man capable of commanding the wind with his very voice, he shouts. Akasada continues to rant but quickly realizes Naruto is tuning him out. Naruto. Listen to me, he says, growing redder, waving his arms in the air. Naruto sighs and puts both fists to his chin. There's no point in learning ninjutsu without the correct base, which is taijutsu. Your opponent will have you on the ground before you can even finish weaving signs. Why are you so desperate to learn ninjutsu anyway? Naruto mumbles. What? Akasada says. I want to get stronger so they regret ever leaving me out in the cold. So they can't ignore me any longer. I want them to fall to their knees and beg me to come back just for me to shut them out like they did, Naruto confesses. Akasada's face softens. He walks over to his student and sits down next to him. Look, Naruto. I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if I understand and can relate to what you've been through and are going through, because the truth is I don't. Akasada says. But if that's really why you're doing this, maybe you should cut your losses and leave now, he says to Naruto, shocking his student. You have immense potential to become bigger than anything this world has ever seen. I know it. This is coming from someone who has fought alongside the 3rd and 4th Raikage. It's for that reason that, if your heart isn't in the right place, then someone like you could end up causing untold destruction, he says, causing Naruto's eyes to widen in shock. And I don't want that. That's all I will say to you. Akasada leaves his student with a lot to think about, jumping up and twisting in the air before landing on his feet in front of Naruto, who is now reflecting on his sensei's words. So, ninjutsu huh? He breathes in, while weaving signs, before blowing out a gust of wind that lifts Naruto into the air. He watches as it transforms into a miniature tornado. Naruto yells, protesting as the twister whips him about. Before you learn ninjutsu, you need to learn how to creatively evade and/or neutralize the enemies. Akasada says, sitting down. It's his turn to prop his chin up on his fists. Well, go on then. Get started, he says, chuckling. Flashback end. Naruto can't help but chuckle at that memory. Although he isn't sure how to feel about his sensei's words of warning. He sighs, growing sad. Naruto loved Akasada deeply. His sensei had done something for him nobody else had ever done. But he had also lied to him. He still isn't at peace with that. Naruto doesn't allow himself much thought on this subject because it forces him to come face to face with the reality that he's never been able to trust anyone without being let down. Luckily he doesn't have to for much longer as the academy comes into view. It consists of many buildings joined together, built over time. A tree with a swing can be seen in not far from it. Perhaps its boldest feature is the large and bold kanji for fire clearly visible at the front above its doors. Naruto has had a change of outfit to reflect the occasion. He is wearing black Anbu-style pants with bandages wrapped around his legs and black sandals. On his upper body he is wearing a snug-fitting black jersey with sleeves reaching his forearms just below his elbows. On the upper part of the right sleeve one can see the head of a golden lion. Over this he is wearing a sleeveless black hoodie with gold lining with the zip left open. Naruto walks into the academy and heads straight for class. The exams are no doubt going to be extremely easy. This is quite stupid. If that is supposed to be the village's assessment of whether one is prepared for the shinobi world, then dark times were ahead for the village. He opens the door to his class and walks in. He usually shows up earlier than all else so he has time to meditate. The seating is arranged in rows that go up as they go further back. Naruto's eyes scan over the room looking for notable participants in the exams. Sitting in the front row is his younger brother Menma, and next to him are his best friends Kiba Inuzuka, son of the Inuzuka clan head. Next to them are Mito and Yayoi and their friends Hinata Hyuga and Kaori Hirota. In the following row are Ino Yamanaka and Sakura Haruno, who are best friends and rivals for the affections of the two most popular boys in class. Opposite them are one of those boys, Sasuke Uchiha, the second eldest son of the head of the Uchiha clan Fugaku Uchiha, and next to him is his twin sister Satsuki Uchiha. Both have blank looks on their faces. And next to them are Shikamaru Nara, the son of the village's Jonin commander and head of the Nara clan Shukaku Nara, and his best friend Choji Akamichi, son of the Akamichi clan head. In the furthest row a little away from some civilian kids was the most mysterious and quiet member of the class, next to Naruto and heir to the Aburame clan Shino Aburame. All in all there are a lot of clan heirs and individuals of noble blood in the class, leading many to believe this is the most promising generation of shinobi the village has seen in years. Naruto walks towards his usual spot at the back, acting oblivious to the eyes on him. Menma eyes Naruto with a cocky smirk on his face. Poor fool, probably thinks a change of outfit is gonna earn points, Menma voices internally. If one thing hasn't changed in the past few years, it's that Naruto is the same hopeless loser he has always been. He remembered how irate he had been when his parents had wanted to start involving Naruto in their training sessions, but thankfully Naruto, being as stupid as he is, had refused despite being in desperate need of the help. His parents have been trying to give Naruto more attention in the years following his supposed run-in with the rogue Uchiha clan heir, but it will all end soon, he is sure. Once he fails to graduate today, they are sure to realize, like everyone else, that Naruto isn't worth wasting their time on. Another pair of eyes studying Naruto carefully are the eyes of Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke, unlike most individuals, has been watching Naruto for quite some time now. Ever since after that night. The raven-haired boy, after recovering from his accosting, had received news that Naruto had suffered a similar attack from the same attacker. He has been watching Naruto carefully at every chance he has gotten ever since. Sasuke has been analyzing Naruto and can tell from the way he fights, his muscle movements, the way he studies his opponent, his eyes, and the very nature of the defeats he suffered, that Naruto is not what he is perceived to be by many. You couldn't tell at first glance, but Naruto is hiding his true strength. Sasuke can attest to that from the few occasions he has sparred him. He's strong. Perhaps as strong as himself. The question is, why would Naruto hide his power? Sasuke is determined to find out. The reason being it may lead him one step closer to him. Naruto gets to his seat in the corner at the back and sits down. He folds his arms and looks ahead at the exam proctors and the Chunin who have been in charge of this class since it entered the academy. The first is Iruka Umino. He has a tan skin tone and brown hair tied in a ponytail. Perhaps his most distinguishing feature is the scar on his face. He has a scar that runs from one side of his nose, across the bridge of his nose to the other. He is dressed in traditional Chunin attire. The second is Mizuki. Naruto does not know his last name. He has shoulder-length white with a slight tint of blue to it. He is also wearing the standard Hidden Leaf shinobi attire with his headband tied around his head like a bandana. Iruka seemed apprehensive of him, but that wasn't surprising or new to him. He is assuming that according to his age the Chunin lost his parents during the Nine Tails attack. Iruka never made any attempt to sabotage him, not that it would have made any difference. Neither did Mizuki, but he could sense the white-haired ninja didn't like him. Iruka only realizes once Naruto is seated that he is staring at the blonde boy. Naruto has been and still is a mystery to him. The other instructors at the academy told him to ignore Naruto, and some even went as far as advising him to take advantage of his situation and sabotage the brat's performance. Why should the poser of a demon brat be a shinobi, was the sentiment echoed by most. However, over time, contrary to his expectations, he discovered Naruto was not the trouble-making no-good brat many of the villagers made him out to be. He was very quiet and kept to himself. Though Iruka is sure this isn't by choice, seeing as calling Naruto's reputation bad is an understatement. Naruto is, on a daily basis, mocked and ridiculed for being the only weak member of the Uzumaki Namikaze family. His sisters are always top contenders for the right to top Kunoichi, while his brother has been locked in a duel for top of the class with Sasuke Uchiha since their class entered the academy. As for his parents, their achievements need no mention. Whereas Naruto himself is dead last, barely passing each year and on some occasions surviving on extra credit. Iruka at first supported this popular view. The memory of his parents' death is always still fresh and vivid in his mind, but he, after a while, realized there wasn't any real piece of evidence making Naruto suspicious. In the end, Iruka resolved to be impartial towards Naruto, choosing not to sabotage him but also not offering the struggling boy any help. He didn't make it hard, seeing as he never asked. Iruka did, however, remain cautious of Naruto. He is now wondering if the boy is going to pass. Probably not, he says inwardly. Alright. This is it. The day you have all been working towards for years now. Without further ado, let's get into it, he says, silencing the nervous murmuring that has filled the room. The exams will consist of two main components. A theory portion which will consist of a written test. And a practical portion split into two parts. In the first half, each of you will engage in a sparring session with Mizuki here while I mark your performance, and you will perform an accuracy test with some kunai and shuriken. In the other half, you will be required to perform the 3 basic jutsu of the academy which the village requires that any shinobi know. These 3 are the substitution jutsu, the clone jutsu and the transformation jutsu. You will obviously pass or fail to graduate depending on how many points you acquire from the exams altogether. Naruto resists a scoff. Is he serious? That's all there is to becoming a shinobi? No, it can't be. If it is, then a lot of the people in this room are doomed. Naruto suspects something more has got to be up. Minato, as much it pains him to say, is not a fool. Iruka hands out the tests. Naruto writes it and breezes through it. He intentionally scores just above the pass requirement. He then pretends to fall asleep when in fact he uses this extra time to meditate. After the tests are collected and graded, the class heads outside for the first half of the practical exam. Naruto purposely fails this part of the exams just to keep up appearances. Satsuki and Sasuke tie for highest in this section of the exams. This earns swoons and murmurs from their respective fan clubs. The two do not seem to care. After this, the sparring sessions take place. Naruto, as always, fights for points rather than to impress, though he can tell Mizuki is going rougher on him than everyone else. The first half of the practical exam ends and all go inside and take their seats and await to be called upon for the final test. Naruto does as he did before, taking advantage of the opportunity to meditate. He does this for a while and after a while feels a familiar chakra signature outside of the academy. Kushina. Not long after, another chakra signature appears, this one more suddenly. Minato. He'll have to try his best to slip past them once he has taken his exam. He doesn't have to wait long. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Iruka calls out. Naruto stands up and heads down, once again, paying the watching eyes no mind. Menma, Mito and Yayoi have all already gone and received their headbands. He steps in front of the two proctors. Right, Naruto, Iruka says with what Naruto can easily recognize to be a fake smile. He knows what this looks like because of the less brave individuals in the village who choose to act like they tolerate him so as not to risk inciting the ire of the fourth. You know what to do. Substitution, clone and transformation jutsu in that order. Naruto substitutes with his chair in the corner. Then he uses the normal clone jutsu. No need to make any revelations just yet. Then he performs the transformation jutsu. Iruka and Mizuki are shocked to see an identical version of Hashirama Senju standing before them. Not one discrepancy. Congratulations Naruto. You pass, he says, fake smile and all. Well done, Mizuki says sporting a fake smile of his own except his is hiding anger. As opposed to the many smiles and exclamations of joy they got today, Naruto simply bows and says thank you, a blank look on his face. Naruto grabs the only headband with a black strap on the table. Iruka and Mizuki tell him to report to the academy in exactly a week to meet his assigned three-man squad. He nods at this and leaves, putting his headband in his pocket as opposed to wearing it around his head so proudly like most of the other new shinobi had. Naruto walks out of the academy. There's no running away like he had planned because his family is standing right in front of the entrance. Had he teleported away, his father would have sensed him infusing chakra. Oh well. Minato sees Naruto and doesn't know whether to smile or frown. His eldest son. Minato is happy at seeing his boy. He notices his change in attire. He is looking like more of a man. Minato feels a sharp pang of guilt at how he didn't get to see Naruto grow up and mature into this. He didn't intend for things to turn out like this. Kushina sees Naruto and a small smile comes onto her face, though her eyes reflect her true feelings. The realization of the amount of damage she has done to her little boy had brought about a deep feeling of self-loath within her. It took a while for her to be able to look at him without thinking about breaking down. On some nights Minato had to comfort her to sleep. But she is determined to right the wrong she has committed. She will rebuild her family. Yayoi is off towards Naruto as soon as he comes into view. She has been desperately trying to connect with her older brother for the past 3 years. When she was younger she used to make fun of him and convinced all the kids at the academy not to play with him. She would even pull pranks and everyone would blame Naruto. She was younger then and foolish. She acknowledges that. She just wants to be his sister again. She realizes he isn't wearing his headband. Oh no, did he fail? Menma sees Naruto approaching and resists scoffing. He honestly makes him sick. Naruto has always been and will always only ever be good for ruining everything. Like the family were planning on going out to celebrate Menma, Mito and Yayoi graduating from the academy with flying colors when their parents had demanded they wait for their big brother. Menma didn't understand it. They had never done that before. Naruto was always left out of everything. What was so different now? He notices the blonde is not wearing his headband. I knew it, he thinks, smirking. Mito simply looks on indifferently. She is impartial about Naruto. He is, for all intents and purposes, a stranger to her. She knows that her parents feel guilty about neglecting Naruto, but they have tried to reconnect with him only for him to shut them out. She knows that he is dead last in their generation, but he only has himself to blame for that. He turned down the opportunity to train with them. He also cultivated a reputation for troublemaking for himself. What can you do for someone like that? All in all, she cares little for him, or at least that is what she tells herself. Naruto sees Yayoi coming. At first he thinks about sidestepping and letting her fall, but decides against it. Yayoi jumps on Naruto, hugging him tight. Big brother. She looks him over. Did you pass? She asks. No, he didn't. Are you surprised? Menma says, smirking. All eyes fall on Naruto, who takes out his headband and straps it around his head. Congratulations Naruto. I'm proud of you. Minato says, beaming. Naruto nods and bows. Thank you, Lord Hokage, he says, simply making Minato wince at how he doesn't call him his father. Naruto moves to end the conversation before it can go further. I'll be seeing you all later, he says, turning, brushing Yayoi off and leaving. Kushina looks down in sadness. She feels Minato's arm wrap around her. Give him some time, Kushina. He'll come around. Minato comforts. Right guys. What do you say we go out and celebrate, Minato says. What about big brother Naruto? Yayoi asks sadly. Your brother wants to be left alone right now, Kushina says. Naruto's training ground. Naruto opens his eyes and looks up. The light of the crescent moon and the stars is shining down. He came here to meditate a few hours ago after escaping his family. I did it, Akasada-sensei, he says. Naruto gets up and starts walking home. Now things are going to start changing. Naruto feels a familiar chakra signature approaching. A figure flies past in the trees towards the village gates. With Mizuki. Mizuki is speeding towards the village exit. Under his arm is a large scroll. This is the Forbidden Scroll of Seals. Mizuki is heading to the village gates, intent on delivering it to his master. This was not the original plan. The plan was for the demon brat to fail to graduate so Mizuki could fool him and tell him he could earn extra credit by bypassing security and getting the scroll. However, things didn't go according to plan. The demon brat actually passed. Mizuki realized that the little rat had been hiding his ability this whole time. Thus he was forced to steal it himself, leading to the current situation. He realizes someone is tailing him and drops down to the forest floor. Naruto jumps down and is faced with his academy instructor Mizuki. Well, if it isn't the fox brat of the Hidden Leaf, Mizuki says with a vile smirk on his face. Naruto stands there, not the least bit fazed by these words. You're not on active field duty. Why are you attempting to leave the village? Whoa, big shot. Just cause you got lucky and graduated you think you can boss people around now, Mizuki responds. Naruto had been compelled by a feeling deep within to follow after him. His eyes dart to the scroll in his arm. Oh, you wanna know what this is? This, little rat, is the Forbidden Scroll of Seals, he says, shocking Naruto. I was just on my way to deliver it to my master, Lord Orochimaru, he continues, shocking Naruto even more. Orochimaru is one of the 3 legendary Sannin and a former student of the 3rd. He was one of the candidates considered for the position of 4th Hokage, but most importantly he is the biggest traitor in the history of the Hidden Leaf. Why is Mizuki working with him? Naruto doesn't know, neither does he care. Mizuki is a traitor. That is all he needs to know. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you all this. Well, it's because you're about to be dead, he shouts, taking the Fuma Shuriken off of his back and sending it hurtling towards Naruto. He stood there not moving. Just as the shuriken appears to be centimeters away from cutting Naruto in half, he releases a burst of wind-style chakra, sending it right back at Mizuki, who has to jump into the air to avoid it. Mizuki suddenly feels the wind knocked out of him as Naruto, out of nowhere, kicks him in the back, sending him crashing into the earth. What? How is he so fast? Mizuki inwardly says, shocked. He tries to get up from his knees but is sent flying through the air into a tree from a kick to the side, which fractures his ribs. Mizuki can do nothing as Naruto weaves through hand signs and shouts, water style. Drilling bullet jutsu. A jet of water emerges from Naruto's mouth and smashes into Mizuki, sending him right through the tree, breaking it. He flies for a few meters before crashing unceremoniously onto the ground. He is out cold. Naruto walks up to him and ties him up with ninja wire. If Mizuki hadn't underestimated him, that wouldn't have been so easy. He still would have won, but it wouldn't have been so easy. He thinks back on everything that has led to this point. He looks up. One step closer. He says before teleporting.